Now, the extent of the spending cuts in England affecting council services for vulnerable children and families has been highlighted in research seen by the BBC. Overall spending on children's services has fallen by 16% since 2010, and local authorities with the highest levels of deprivation have seen cuts of getting on for 30%. Ministers insist that extra money has been made available to local authorities. Our social affairs correspondent Alison Holt has the story.
In a cramped room in one of Birmingham's most deprived areas, volunteers run a cook and eat session for local families. Many face money or other worries. Here, mums find counselling, childcare and friends. They've asked not to be identified.
That help is vital for our mental health, and obviously having the mothers emotionally stable helps the children, and happy parents is happy children.
But today's research shows as council spending on children's services has been cut, it's become increasingly hard to get early intervention and family support like this. A charity runs this place. They say neglect cases are increasing massively.
What we see is where that early help could have happened, and then mum was able to get on her feet and keep those children and then go on to actually be a very effective parent. We're now seeing that that's just left and left and left until a crisis emerges, and then you're at the very top end of crisis that involves removal of children.
And this mother, who now looks after a relative's children who would otherwise be in care, told me she believes the family didn't get enough early support.
It would have made a lot of difference. It maybe would have helped probably keep the family together and not have it broken up the way that it is.
In Birmingham, there are some of the most deprived areas in the country. And according to today's research, it's councils which are dealing with high levels of poverty and of need, which have seen some of the greatest cuts to their children's services budgets. At the same time, the demands keep increasing. Councils in England say 10 years ago they started 200 child protection investigations each day. Now they begin 500 a day. This new research shows vital child protection and children in care services have been largely shielded from cuts, but in the most deprived areas there's been a 54% fall in spending on helping families early.
So this is the room that was used for stay and play.
That's meant the closure of children's centres like this one in Birmingham. Here they say they've lost staff who really knew what was going on locally.
The same issues are still there. The community, as all communities in sort of super deprived areas, still need that support.
But councils maintain the squeeze on their funding from government leaves them with no choice.
Many councils now face a tipping point where they know they're having to take away the services that keep people out of the most expensive child protection services. However, they've simply got no choice because they've got to keep funding the child protection work, and everything else therefore has to go in order to pay for it.
The Children's Minister declined to do an interview, but the Education Department says extra money has been made available to councils. It adds, we want every child, no matter where they live, to receive high-quality care and support. But with no let-up in demand for children's services, the arguments over funding will get tougher. Alison Holt, BBC News, Birmingham.
Let's have a brief look at some of the day's other news stories.